What's up, guys? My name's Brandon, and welcome back to Apple Weekly. This week was full of excitement early on in the week, and then things kind of just fizzled out by the end of the week. But I'm here on the weekend to put some more excitement in your life with this episode. And in this episode, we're going to discuss some additional iOS 16 Beta 5 features, more news about the upcoming iPhone 14, Apple Watch Series 8, and AirPods Pro 2, along with Zuck and Meta finding yet another way to track our every move on the iPhone. And as always, if you want to stay updated with all things Apple, make sure to click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss next week's Apple Weekly episode. All right, so let's start with even more iOS 16 Beta 5 features. Now, easily the biggest change in this fifth beta is the addition of the battery percentage up there in the status bars. Of course, if you go into your settings and you go down to battery, you will notice a new toggle up top for battery percentage. You could turn that on or off, and of course it does get grayed out if you go into low power mode. You can see it permanently stays on if you are in low power mode, and it turns yellow. But if you turn that off, you get the option to turn your battery percentage on or off up there in the status bar. So that, of course, is the big new feature in Beta 5. Now, some people were disappointed because this is not included for like the iPhone 11 series, or not the 11 series, just the regular iPhone 11. It's available for the 11 Pro and, obviously the 12 and 13 series. So even the regular iPhone 12 gets it, but the regular iPhone 11 doesn't, only the 11 Pros. So it's kind of weird. Apple doesn't have it for all notched devices. So even if you have like a 13 mini, for example, you're not going to be able to have the battery percentage up there in your status bar. So they could add that later, but for right now, it is limited as to the devices you can get that on. Now we also get some new changes if we haptic press on the camera application. So you'll see now, here's what it was like in Beta 4. We just had no icon next to take portrait or take portrait selfie, but now here in Beta 5, you can see that we have two new glyph icons right there for portrait and portrait selfie. So they're slightly different variations of the same glyph, but we now have something there instead of it just being blank. And if you go into the Photos application, you will see that we have a new toggle for shared library badge. You can turn that on or off now. We also have a change for AirPods. So if you go ahead and connect our AirPods right here, and let's go into our AirPods Pro little menu right here, and we have a new sub menu in here. If we scroll down all the way to the bottom until you see version right there, if you tap on that, it is now tappable. Before, it just showed the version and that was it, but now you can see it shows the version and for the AirPods itself and also for the case. And then right below that, it says firmware details available at support.apple.com. So it looks like Apple is going to start actually having release notes for AirPods updates, something I've been asking for a couple of years now, a few years. So we should be expecting that pretty soon, which is nice to see. There's also a new sound for Find My when you want to ping an iPhone from your Apple Watch or just from another iPhone. So if I tap on play sound right here, you will hear that this is the new sound. Beta 5 also adds a slight change to the Siri bubbles right here. So you will see that before it had more of a rectangular look, but now the edges are more circular, more rounded off. Now in Beta 5, you will notice that the people section is missing. When you go to add a new wallpaper, we no longer have the people section up here anymore. Beta 5 also fixes sleep mode. So before we had this like really washed out look on the notifications here, but now in Beta 6, you can see they are back to normal. They don't have that washed out look to them. If we go into our settings and go to accessibility, you will see that we have a new glyph icon for control nearby devices. So that was it on Beta 4. Here it is on Beta 5, but everything in here is the same except for we do have a new example here in the verbiage, so just an extra sentence. We also have a change to emergency SOS. When you go to turn off your device, you will see that not only has this bug been fixed right here where it would show like the shutdown menus and everything in emergency SOS, but it would just be transparent. That was a big bug in Beta 4 that has been fixed here in Beta 5, but also you will see now that instead of emergency SOS, it says emergency call. So just a slight change to the verbiage there. Also, Apple has finally implemented cycling directions everywhere in the US. So all 50 states now have cycle directions. So of course, this is not just for iOS 16. This is an over-the-air, server-side update on Apple's part. But finally, if you're into cycling, you will be pleased to know that that has been added for all 50 states now. Now, as far as bugs go, this latest beta really does not have too many issues. Now, the number one issue I've been seeing is this one right here, where we got a double media player platter on the lock screen. So you would just see two of them right here. One was for media remote UI, and then one was for your now playing. So this, of course, is a bug. I would assume that that's going to be fixed very soon, but that's really the only bug I've seen be very widespread with this build, and it's not really anything that breaks your OS or anything like that. Now, I have also had the Apple Music application just randomly pause or randomly stop. It hasn't happened often, but it is something else I noticed. But aside from that, there's really not too much to complain about. I mean, most of the UI bugs that I had on previous builds, especially the last build, Beta 4, had a ton of UI bugs. Most of those have been fixed, like the transparency issues in FaceTime that I showed before, and when you power down your device, that's been fixed. We have a lot of fixes for app crashes. I haven't had any app crashes at all. I've had no random resprings, no app crashes, nothing. So everything seems good as far as bugs go for now. Now, of course, there are still bugs out there remaining. It's not completely bug free, but there hasn't really been anything that makes me want to downgrade my device on this build, which is nice to see. And when it comes to performance overall, performance feels it's about the same, I would say, as the previous beta in terms of just overall raw performance. Now, of course, we do have a lot of bug fixes, so it is going to feel faster and more fluid, so that's always a good thing. And like I said, I haven't had any random resprings or anything like that. There's been nothing I've had to report in feedback, which is always a good sign. And then when it comes to battery life has, a slight improvement, I would say, over the previous beta, but there is still room to go. I don't think it's as good as iOS 15 yet, and honestly, it probably won't be as good as iOS 15 until after the final release. We'll probably finally get to iOS 15 levels when we get to like iOS 16.2 or 16.3 or something like that. So don't expect to get as good a battery life as we do on iOS 15, this deep into iOS 15. Of course, Apple has perfected battery life for that version, so don't expect that on iOS 16 anytime soon. But so far, battery life actually pretty good. All right, so now let's talk about what to expect next from Apple. So finally, we should be switching over to a weekly release schedule. So if history is any indication, which it usually is, that means that Apple will start releasing these betas on a weekly release schedule, which would mean we should see iOS 16 beta 6 next week on the week of the 15th. So we should see that either the 15th, 16th, or 17th. Last week, of course, or this past week, it was on the 8th on a Monday. So we could very well see another Monday release right there on the 15th. But I'd say sometime from Monday to Wednesday, we should see the beta 6 release. And then as far as the final release for iOS 16, of course, that is coming sometime in September. I would guess the week of the 12th or the week of the 19th. But of course, we don't know until Apple officially announces that, which should be pretty soon. I would say within the next few weeks, we should know exactly when we're going to see iOS 16. And then, of course, we are going to see iPadOS 16 and macOS Ventura sometime in October. So it is going to be another staggered release for iOS and not only macOS Ventura, but also iPadOS 16 this year. And then for those still on iOS 15, we should be seeing a 15.7 beta 1 or a 15.6.1 at some point in August. I've been saying that since, a couple weeks ago, but we really don't know for sure what Apple's going to do yet. Apple's very unpredictable when it comes to releases like this. We don't know if they're going to have another beta cycle or if it's just going to go straight to a 15.7 or a 15.6.1. It's hard to say right now, but time will tell. All right, so now let's move on to the latest Apple news. And let's start with iPhone 14 prices, because first we heard that prices were going to increase this year, then we heard that they weren't going to be increased. And now we're back to hearing that they will in fact be increasing this year, but not for the regular iPhone 14. So technically we were right previously, the analysts were right previously, but anyways, here's the latest. So according to Ming-Chi Kuo, the iPhone 14 will remain the same price as the iPhone 13 from last year, but the Pro models will be getting a price increase this year. And he said this on Twitter: I estimate iPhone 14 series ASP, which stands for average sales price, would increase by about 15% versus the iPhone 13 series to $1,000 to $1,050 due to 2 iPhone 14 Pro price hikes and higher shipment proportion. And he does reference Han Hai and Foxconn and their recent earnings report and outlook, and that's kind of how he drew this conclusion. So yes, it seems like the Pro models will be increasing this year in price. Now we don't know the exact prices yet. He does say about 15%. So it could be, $1,049, it could be $1,099, and then add an extra $100 for the Pro Max. But of course we should know pretty soon, because we are just about a month away from seeing those iPhones announced. And speaking of that event, according to Mark Gurman, it is going to be a pre-recorded event just like we've seen for the past few years. And I think this makes sense, and it's actually preferred in my opinion. I mean, I think most people would agree that they love the pre-recorded events because of the cinematics and just getting right to the chase, and not having a ton of fluff in there. But, some reports early on said that we would go back to in-person events this year, but it doesn't look like that's happening. Maybe next year we should see an in-person event for Apple's AR VR headset, which is going to be supposedly early next year. Now, switching over to the upcoming Apple Watch Series 8, we have some potential great news about the long-rumored body temperature sensor. And that's because Apple was just recently granted a patent that they applied for in 2020 that would allow them to put a temperature sensor in the Apple Watch. And according to this patent, which does get pretty technical, by the way, but Apple's idea is to enclose a temperature sensing system, including a temperature sensor and a differential temperature probe in the Apple Watch. And as a result of these constructions, the wearable electronic device can obtain a highly accurate and highly precise measurement of the user's skin temperature, which in turn can be leveraged for health or fitness recommendations, health or fitness tracking, and biometric identification. So there are a lot of advantages of having this sensor, and a lot of future Apple products will have this. We just don't know for sure if it's coming in the Apple Watch Series 8 yet. Now, moving on to the AirPods Pro 2, which are expected later this year, Ming-Chi Kuo recently said this: "I predict Apple will launch USB-C capable charging cases for all AirPods models in 2023. However, the charging case of the new AirPods Pro 2 launching later this year may still support Lightning." So it looks like the next version of the AirPods Pro will in fact ship with a Lightning case, and maybe Apple will release like an updated version sometime in 2023, and you can upgrade your AirPods case to a USB-C case if you want to. So what I found most interesting about this though is that if Apple's gonna switch the AirPods over to USB-C, I bet they're planning to do the same for the iPhone. I mean, the AirPods are a huge accessory, a huge seller for Apple, so I highly doubt they would switch to USB-C on something like the AirPods and not do it on the iPhone. So maybe next year we will finally see a USB-C iPhone, at least for the Pro models first. I could definitely see that coming. And then finally, let's talk about how good old Zuck is bypassing Apple's anti-tracking measures yet again. Kind of. So according to researcher Felix Cross, Instagram and Facebook can track anything that you do on any website if you use their in-app browser. So if you've ever wondered, why you're not redirected to Safari when you click on a link in Facebook or Instagram, this is probably why. So it turns out that these in-app browsers inject JavaScript code into each website visited, and here's what the researcher said. The Instagram app injects their tracking code into every website shown, including when clicking on ads, enabling them to monitor all user interactions, like every button and link tapped, text selections, screenshots, as well as any form inputs like passwords, addresses, and credit card numbers. And keep in mind that this is information that they can get. There's no proof that they are actively collecting this information, but it's still good to know, and just another reason not to use in-app browsers, in my opinion. I mean, I always click on the little open in Safari button, that way you're not being tracked across everything you do on those websites while in that in-app browser. But anyways, guys, there you have it. That is all the news for this week. It was a pretty slow week in terms of Apple news, so hopefully next week we have a lot more interesting leaks and rumors and actual news to talk about. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video nonetheless. I hope you enjoyed the new iOS 16 features. And of course, if you guys have anything to add, let me know down in the comment section below. I love hearing from you guys. And also, I would love feedback on the new thumbnail. So I have a new thumbnail style for this Apple Weekly series. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. Obviously you can go onto my channel and see what that thumbnail looks like. Let me know what you think about it down there in those comments below. I would appreciate any input on that. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe for a lot more Apple Weekly episodes and iOS 16 coverage coming very soon. We're very close to that final release. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.